Hey, good afternoon. Roger East here with Right Star Systems, and welcome to our webinar series on what's new in Remedy Force Summer 15. Obviously, one of the typical 3 releases per year that you've been seeing on this product, and as always, they continue to provide some really nice new features and functionality. So I'll be happy to take you through that today as we go through this. What we're going to focus on is really 4 primary areas. The addition of asset management to the CMDB. You've been able to kind of quasi-do it just by running reports on CIs, but now it's the full life cycle of the assets, the financials, the life cycle statuses of the assets. We're going to talk about a new way for end users to submit their own tickets using the self-service portal through Salesforce One. An app that many of you probably familiar with. It was just for staff, but now Salesforce is making it available for the client community. We're going to talk about ways to enhance your Remedy Force system with the Remedy Force Marketplace and just some general enhancements that they have made to make Remedy Force even better with this new release. And then we're going to provide you with some very interesting new interfaces from a self-service perspective and how we streamline that to look a little bit better and more modern GUI. Probably the big feature, the primary function of Remedy Force Summer 15 is the marriage, if you would, of true asset management, IT asset management, with the Remedy Force CMDB, which of course has already always been there. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this screen because we're going to go through most of this stuff, but giving you a lot of improvements to that CMDB to make the full asset management part of it really doable in this system. So let's talk about asset management. So unlike just the CMDB, here's where you are going to do the whole life cycle of the asset from the initial acquisition of the asset through its various stages, its various inventory cycles. You're going to need to capture the financial information, the contractual information. All of that's going to be required to track its status through the life cycles there. And then you're going to need some ways to automate things where possible. So if we set this up correctly, it's going to make it a lot easier to manage vendors, to manage software and hardware asset portfolios, in effect doing true asset management, which we really had a hard time doing when we just had the CMDB, unless we were leveraging another tool of so forth to complement Remedy Force. So let's talk about what they've done to the CMDB to really make this possible. So in prior releases of this, you basically had a CMDB. You had your CI classes like computer system, application, network device, that type of thing. And what we've now done is said, the CMDB can house both configuration items and assets. And, sometimes a given asset can be both a CI and an asset. It depends on what you're doing with the device, whether you're doing things with relationships and those types of things. But they've given you all the tools here. For those of you who already have your CMDB configured and deployed in your Remedy Force environment, no fears. This is not going to make you go back and change anything you've already done. These are just going to be net new functionality if you want to enable it, but certainly no impact to your existing rollout of your CMDB. So basically what they're going to do is, under the administrative tab, just like we configure email and application settings and everything else, now there are going to be ways to go in and determine whether we want to stay with just the CI view like you've always had, whether we now want to add asset management to it so I can see one or both of those, and then give me some tools that I need to kind of go through that. So if you will remember in the last release, I guess it would be Spring 15 or Winter 15, whatever it was called, under the CMD model, we gave you a new ability. Instead of having to always scroll down and find the icon of what you wanted to look at, for example, I'd scroll down, I'd find computer systems on the left-hand side of the tab, and then it would show me all of my computer systems on the right-hand side of the tab. So they gave you the ability to say, search for BMC_computer systems, they would come up. Well, now that we've added assets to this, you'll notice the little box up here. We're now giving you 3 additional tabs. So I can look at just CIs in the CMDB. I can look at just assets in the CMDB. Or again, assuming my role allows me to access both, If I click on the All tabs, I would have access to both CIs and asset. And as you can see here, just an example. So again, just to further differentiate, right? The asset are things like laptop, desktop, router, switch, monitor, phone, all the things like someone would use. If you think about it the way it was before, if I was looking at computer systems, yeah, I'd see laptops, desktops, and servers. But I wouldn't really be looking at that point at like routers and switches because that would be network devices. I probably would be looking at, may or may not be looking at phones. I wouldn't have been looking at applications unless I had a different view. Well, now we're kind of giving you that out-of-the-box naming convention of what was the CI primarily used for. A lot of you already have your CMDB configured. You probably, one of the things you did was, okay, you've got the name of your CI, and you probably had that use that primary use field for saying it's a server or it's a laptop or whatever. So again, just a picture here showing it. If you say I want to see both, I want to see all, then it'll identify for each of the items listed whether it's a CI, whether it's an asset, or whether it acts as both a CI and an asset within the CMDB remedies environment there. They're also giving you a really much-needed new search filter on your CMDB where I can go in and really just using a little wizard, if you would, create my own searchability of things I'm looking for. And the example you see here, of course, is, I don't want to just look at all my laptops. I want laptops with a specific configuration, like all laptops with 2 gig of memory. And it doesn't have to be a single level query. It could be all laptops with 2 gig of memory and all laptops with 100 gig drive or larger that's in there. So ability to kind of do those quick searches. If it's a search you use over and over, I can actually go in and save that if I need to. And just to give you a little bit better view at that, let me pop over here into my Remedy-Force instance here. And you'll notice there's a little filter here. And if I click on that filter is where you would go in and you would configure your search. So, for example, I did one here. I said if manufacturer name equals Lenovo, so show me all my Lenovo ThinkPads we've got in the environment, and just that quickly it would come back. Or you could do a different type of query. So I'm looking at there and instead of doing manufacturer name, maybe you're looking for your particular CI status, for example. I'm looking for all of my CIs that have been deployed, for example, as that. And again, I can apply that and go out and do it. So you're really unlimited. I guess they have that on there. You're really unlimited as to what you can do there. It's a great new little search feature that's been added to what you've got there. So I just want to give you a little bit better view at that one towards the end of there. They've also added an ability to add the locations where your assets are there. We could do that by using the physical location computer class under the CMDB, but again, it wasn't necessarily all that intuitive to do it. So now basically on the attributes of the CI itself, we've just added, as you can see here, a new field with a drop-down where you would be able to go in and configure your office location right on there and not have to worry about joining two classes together, i.e., BMC_computer system and physical location to do a query. Now we've got it here in as just a new field on the screen. So again, a very, very useful function there. So now that we have both CIs and assets in our CMDB, we're no longer going to call it just the CI Explorer, because when we do that query, it will bring back both CIs and assets. Again, assuming you have the permission to view both. So it's now been renamed to CMDB Explorer. So another new little change there. But as you're doing those queries, as you're in that CMDB looking at it, again, if I have the rights to only see CIs, I'll see CI name and status. If I have only the ability to see assets, I won't see CI name and status. I'll only see asset name and status. Or if I'm one of those privileged individuals that can see both, I would be able to see both of those on the screen. So they've really thought this thing through as far as how they're going to present it to you. As many of you recall, I believe it was 2, maybe 3 releases ago, they came out with a whole bunch of reports and dashboards for the CMDB that weren't there before that. So now, as you would expect, now that we've added assets to the Remedy Force Summer 15 release, they've come out with a number of dashboards and a number of reports right out of the box to give you that information. And you can see here on the screen some of the examples that I'm going to give you there. The typical types of things that you would want to know about the assets. So I'm not going to sit here and read through each one of them, but you kind of get an idea here. And by the way, we'll make these slides and this recording available to anyone who needs it. Another neat thing they've done is introduce something we refer to as models. And basically, you can think of a model as a couple of things. One is it's going to make it very easy to create CIs and assets. Think of it as a catalog item. But it's also going to be able to allow you to really quickly query and have a consistency of what your data looks like. And let me give you an example here. In prior instances, if you just had your CMDB out there, you know, people had all kind of different naming conventions. Somebody called it a Dell Latitude 800. Somebody just called it a Dell D800. Somebody didn't use the word Dell and just called it a Latitude D800, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's an example of phones down here as well. And so it made it very difficult to gen reports based on values, just have a consistent look and feel as how you do things. So what they've done is they've now introduced this models. So no matter what you kind of wanted to call it, we're going to say that truly reflects that it's really a Dell Latitude D800 or it's an Apple iPhone 6. We've had something similar to this in software catalogs for a long time because, again, the same way people are mislabeling or confusingly labeling these assets here, we had a problem with things like somebody called it Microsoft Office, somebody called it Office Professional, somebody else called it Office Standard, somebody else said it's Word and Excel. And again, it made it kind of hard to normalize what we're naming our software, in this case, software licenses and how to account for them. This is a similar type of thing, right? So we can define the different ways somebody might classify something, what's the true value. The model is the Dell D800 here. So that's a great improvement. It's going to greatly improve some of your searching and reporting capabilities. So as we continue to now grow and enhance this CMDB, one of the things that has been needed for some time is the ability to normalize the data, because as you're getting inputs from different people inputting assets, different imports from spreadsheets, or different discovery tools being used to populate the CMDB, you again have that tendency to want to be able to, you know, is tomato and tomato, right? You got different ways of calling things. So this normalization engine is now going to allow us to say, okay, what fields do we have a problem with people calling it too many different things? What are going to be the normalization values we want to use? So then as you enter or import new data into your CMDB, we'll indicate where there's an exception that we're seeing, and then you can manage the exception manually. You can use a business rule to manage it as to how you want to normalize that particular flow. When you do that with some normalization rules you configure, again, that's done under the Remedy Administrator tab, under the CMDB, where you can then just go in and create the rules for how you want to handle those exceptions when different feeds are calling the different attributes a little bit different thing there. Again, it's a great new feature that modern CMDBs really need to have. So most of you know that Salesforce One has been around for some time. It's provided by Salesforce, and heretofore, before Summer 15, it was only for use by the staff technicians, for them to be able to see the tickets that have been assigned to them, work and update those tickets, actually create a ticket if they might be at the client location. And it's been a very, very successful tool, great design, great GUI interface if they were able to do it. Or they're extending that, it's in beta, but extending that out to the Remedy Force clients as well to let them be able to do it. So we will be very interested in getting some feedback, i.e. it's beta, so we'll make whatever adjustments we need to based on your feedback. And my guess would be it would go GA in the next release. That's not guaranteed, but that would be my guess. So all you need to do is go out, as you can see, 2/3 of the way down the page here, go out to your Google Store or your Apple Store and download the Salesforce One client for doing that and play with it and take a look at it. Here are some examples. But basically what you're going to be able to do is do your tickets. You're going to be able to filter your tickets, and you're going to be able to look at incidents, everything that's attributable to you. You're going to be able to view knowledge articles, and you're going to have the ability to use something that, was kind of brought into my IT some time ago called the Superbox, which is kind of a free-form way of entering your new ticket data as opposed to have to fill out forms there. So on your far left here, that's kind of a landing page of what it would look like. First thing you would notice at the very top, of course, are if there are any broadcasts from Remedy-Force going on, like a major outage is going on, email is down, payroll is down, whatever the case may be. Be able to obviously view your tickets, look at common tickets, be able to view the knowledge base or the self-help articles. Moving over to the right, that's giving you an example of what that Superbox is. So instead of filling out a form where I'm picking a category, I'm typing a big description, I'm choosing from other drop-downs, you can just more or less use kind of the social media way of doing it and use, your hashtags, your @ signs to be able to put in information into the Superbox, and we'll still create the ticket for you. Third box over from the left, of course, is just kind of showing you we can bring up the common things that we see, because yours is might be one. You can just click on that and you've got your ticket. And then last but not least, we're not trying to force mass adoption here. If you don't want to use the new Superbox and you like the way you typically have done things, where you do pick from drop-down fields and do a little free text typing itself, that is certainly still available to those who would prefer to use it. But this way, you got the best of both worlds. So whatever works for you and your user community is available in Remedy-Force there. Just a little bit bigger screenshot here of what that landing page looks like. Again, those broadcasts at the top. Here's your Superbox right on that front page, so I don't even have to click and go anywhere if you want to be able to do that. And again, here's your list of the things we've already talked about. Yeah, this is the Superbox where you're using kind of your free form text to be able to quickly submit an item into there. So continuing on with some of the great things they brought out, this is really neat here, known as smart practices of being able to enhance this thing. So what they wanted to do is expand the use of Remedy-Force, make it easy for other groups within your organization and in general other verticals, outside of IT to be able to adopt and utilize the Remedy-Force solution out there. So with smart content, and as an example for verticals like IT, HR, facilities, why not give them a jump start on typical request definitions, typical templates, typical categories that a vertical like that might want? So if today you're only using Remedy-Force for IT and you've been tossing back and forth a way to let facilities come in here and use it, now you could get them up and running even quicker and with less ease, because we can download the best practice data, if you would, for typical things that you would see in facilities. So I wouldn't see under my category tree, I've got a network problem. I would see things more generic like a plumbing issue, an HVAC issue, a lights out issue type of thing. But preloaded content that you can download. It's coming from the BMC communities, but there's a link right within Remedy-Force to be able to go out and bring that data in. And here's just, again, another example of business services, categories, templates, request definitions, i.e. your service catalog definitions, if you would, and service level agreements that would be typical in that particular instance. So that was a way to look at enhancing the number of people who want to use Remedy-Force within your organization, as well as attracting other industries here. One of the other things, though, is we want to be able to give you the opportunity to enhance what you're doing with Remedy-Force. So with the Remedy-Force Marketplace, we're going to provide to you, and by the way, you merely go into here under your customized tabs, and just say you want to add the Remedy-Force Marketplace tab to your browser window, and it shows up. But here we are going to be able to present to you a number of other applications that run on the Force.com platform that have specific enhancements and tie-ins to Remedy Force. So other things that you might want to integrate, a lot of you probably had us talk to you about something like Cloud Coach, already got an out-of-the-box integration with Remedy Force out of the box. So here, looking at this, if you need a plug-in to do something, if you're using Jira, for example, to do your DevOps and bug tracking, and you want to have something go from Remedy Force over into Jira, well, there's a Jira plug-in available that you could do that with, and many other examples. So, go out and take a look at this, see what you see out there. Most of you are familiar with the Salesforce Marketplace, where there are just lots of different tools on the same platform. The difference here is somebody has done something specific to make it work with Remedy Force, not just at the Force.com level, which would have required some tweaking to make it work with Remedy Force. These are already things that have been done to do that for you in Remedy Force. So as always, with one of these new releases, they do take it upon themselves to try to either give you new enhancements or improve the way things are done. And I have to say they've done some very nice things here. They've cut the amount of time it takes to save a record by over 50%. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal if you think about it. So all the staffs out there are clapping at this point in time, I'm sure. Clients can now view rich text emails in self-service, emails that contain, pictures, screenshots, those types of things. We've now added an ability to very easily limit the number of queues a staff member could see in a shared Remedy Force environment. We could get around it and do that with a bunch of permission sets and rules, but it became pretty arduous to do it. Now it's just going to be a common functionality that they're going to make available to you here. For those of you who are running change management and you're using the forward schedule of changes view, they just made a few enhancements there where you can customize what those tooltips are as you roll over the various ones there. The ability to have different knowledge article record types. And again, that's both by staff and clients, so that's a new feature they've added into it. And now the admins can kind of more easily identify, manage some of those quick views and permissions and who can see them and whatever. And then just some upgrade getting started stuff there. Ability to add fields like status, description, resolution, and other fields on the service request detail page. That was something that was very much needed. I've had a number of customers comment on that. And then be able to map the incident template categories over to a service request as well, because they're very similar in the nature of what's going on there. So something else, another beta, right? We talked about the smart content page. Now we've got the UX beta. It's a different self-service look and feel. Again, they are soliciting your feedback so they can decide whether it's on the mark, whether they need to add more stuff to it. Easy to use, simplifies the whole interface, so give them some feedback through communities there. So here's just an example here, right? Very clean-looking landing page here. On the left, what do you want to do? I need to do a search, submit a ticket request to service, or in the middle, just in a single view here, if you would, and I think if you scroll through here, proper self-help articles, common service requests, common tickets, again, just a new UI. If you wanted to request a service, you could get this type of view where it automatically breaks down the different types of services that are configured in your environment. Or if you wanted to, for example, say IT services, it would then bring up, ever how many you had. In this case, there's only one, but if you had 5 or 6 entries under IT services, it would bring those up to see if that was what you were looking for, and you'd merely just click on it if you did. You also have the ability to now expand this. So another UX new view is this smart view in beta for staff. So now I'm sitting here, I'm in a Remedy Force console, as you can see. I'm a staff member. I'm looking at, incident and service requests. They've got a new column here called the Smart View Data Set. So now, as a staff member, assuming proper permissions again, if I were to click on one of those incidents and bring it up, you can see it expands out everything that I might need to know. I can see if there are any tasks linked to the incident. I can see if there are any CIs that are appropriate to the incident. I can see if there are other tickets that are out there that need to be done. I can see if it's tied to any of their services and so forth and so on. This smart data is just going to give us this exploded view, if you would, of what's going out there. So in Release 1, I have this ability to get this explorer view, if you would, of any broadcasts that are related, status indicators, any linked records, outstanding tasks that may be associated with the service request or the incident. I'm looking at any approvals that are out there associated with it, CMDB, and so forth and so on as you go through there. So it's one of those you could probably want to play with, but I think you will find it very useful. Again, the whole notion here is to give that technician more tools at their fingertips to try to get the information they need as quick as possible without having to go to different places within the tool set or even another tool set to be able to bring that information up. So a lot of information out there in this one. This one's going to require you to maybe kick the tires a little bit more. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do, I would assume that the vast majority of the folks viewing this already belong to BMC communities. So if you'll just go out there and type in the search box, Remedy Force Summer 15, this is the sequence of the hits you would get back. You'll notice the third one down is Remedy Force Summer 15 demos. And when you bring that up, you'll see I've got anywhere from 3-minute to 15-minute demo vignettes showing all of these new features that I've kind of talked about here. So figure out the ones that you have an interest in, and it will be a little bit more of a deep dive on those things that we had gone through today. Well, I thank you very much for your viewing of this particular webinar. I hope it was informative for you, and continued success with Remedy Force.